Next, we have House File 951. I will move to re-refer House File 951 to Government Operations. Actually, Raymond, Representative Dean will move.
Yes. Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I want to thank a couple testifiers I have here today. Eli Darris with the ACLU and Justice Paul Anderson is also here. I know that the path to get to this point has not been a smooth path, but I want to thank the chair and the members for hearing this bill today. We've also noticed that there's the repealer does something that actually was not intended to do. So I would like to make an oral amendment to remove 5.12 and 5.13. If you'd like, I'll explain really quickly.
Please explain what that does.
Yeah, so the repealer was put in, and it was meant to apply directly to the issue of charges or alleged violations of individuals who were people with a criminal record who were prohibited from voting, from being able to vote. And actually, this repealer repeals the whole section, which was never the intention because it includes all forms of possible fraud. And if should this bill move forward, that would not be a case for an individual with currently under probation or under supervision. So we'd like to remove that repealer.
I have no problem with that. All those in favor of this motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion adopted.
Right. Well. Thank you. Today we're here to talk about the impact of those individuals that are currently out in the general public. We're expecting them to be good, upstanding citizens, and one of the basic sort of impacts of being a good citizen is actually participating in our voting. We know that people that vote tend to be less likely to recidivate, or in other words, to commit other offenses. So I believe that this is a great bill that would do that. And I also want to, dispel any rumors or any idea about who this bill impacts. Over 60% of the people that will have the right restored, of which currently I believe there are about 47 to 50,000 people that currently don't have that because they're still under supervision or on probation. Over 60% of those people live outside of Hennepin and Ramsey County. So this isn't an urban issue. This isn't a rural issue. This is a statewide issue. And those individuals that currently are prohibited from voting, some of them are on 20, 30, I even heard the other day of a 40-year sentence of probation. So I think it's having an impact that we don't intend. I believe that this would be a great public safety issue. And since I know we're running short on time, I'm going to turn this over to my testifier, Eli Darris.
Thank you, Representative Dean. Greetings, Chairman Johnson and members of the committee. My name is Eli Darris. Today I get to use my voice to advocate for myself and for the women and men who are similarly situated like me. Who are we? We are citizens who are your brothers, we're your mothers, uncles, cousins, neighbors, sons, mechanics, and in some cases, campaign staff. And we can't vote. We can pay taxes, but we can't vote. We obey by the regulations, the ordinances, and the laws created by lawmakers, but we can't vote. We live within a representative democratic republic, but paradoxically, we can't vote. For the past 2 election cycles, I've had the privilege of seeing thousands of those little red "I voted" stickers. Seeing those stickers have actually been bittersweet for me. As an organizer and former field director of a recent mayoral campaign, I was overjoyed to see people push to the polls. Secretly, I hoped that they had voted for my candidate. But on the other hand, every time I saw or that I'm able to see those little stickers, I'm reminded that though I have likely driven thousands of people to the polls, I can't vote. Though I probably personally knocked 1,000 doors myself and engaged over 1,000 citizens to participate in this democratic process, I can't vote. I have never known the joy of selecting someone to represent my community. As the law stands now, I won't be able to vote until the year 2025. That's when I'm off parole. I'm right here in the community with all of you, right now, in the heart of it. But I am invisible to society in one of the most fundamental ways of being a citizen, a ghost, a non-voter. When I go and I speak to your legislative assistants, do you know what the first question they ask me is? Are you a constituent? That's the first question. Translation, are you a voter? How much do you matter? Well, we matter. And I'm here to represent those of us who matter. Our voices matter. Our communities matter. We are here. I urge the members of this committee to pass House 5951. This bill is restorative and it's confirming. This bill would impact 51,000 Minnesotan citizens just like me, a majority of which actually live outside of the Twin Cities. So I'm actually speaking on behalf of many of them who are in rural Minnesota as well. The bill is supported by 70 organizations from around the state, including the NAACP, the League of Women Voters, the Minnesota County Attorneys Association, numerous faith-based groups, and the ACLU, where I now work. We are the Restore the Vote Coalition, and today I'm here on behalf of all of them. It's time to pass this bill. It is an acknowledgement of citizenship. It shifts the responsibility and weight of democracy to more stakeholders. It eradicates the shadows and expands democracy. And I urge you all to support this bill. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The next testifier, we need to be as brief as possible because our committee time in this room will run out in 12 seconds. Or we'll go a minute or so longer.
We'll let Justice Anderson address the brevity of his presentation.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, I come from a venue where we have people on the clock, so I'll try to adhere to the clock. I'm here because some people think I have something of value to add, and that's my experience in the criminal justice system. I got to tell you right out from the beginning, I believe that it is a just and good policy to restore the right to vote. I have affirmed any number of sentences that are very harsh and long time incarceration and long time parole and probation. When you do that, you're very concerned about the end product of our criminal justice system, which is historically and always been rehabilitation and restoring the citizen to the rightful place in society. I explain that in written comments, which I'll give to you later because I'm fair with your time. But if you are concerned about rehabilitation and getting people back in society, and I do a lot of work in rural Minnesota, and I know a lot of hunters out there and other people who are affected by this bill. They can't be part of, the culture that they want to be because, they take people to vote and whatever. So why should we do this? It's good policy. It allows us to restore persons to society with a rightful vote. It takes away the stigma that goes with this long time term. And this bill is counterintuitive. From the time we start grade school, we are told about the precious right to vote. We are encouraged to vote. It is a unique time in a felon's life when they are under the yoke of the Department of Corrections and under probation. It is a chance to educate them as part of this process what their civic duty is and what their right is, and get them to show up and vote. The other counterintuitive part of this is that my colleague on the court, Justice Barry Anderson, likes to refer to the 3 felonies a day. A book that talks about if you're ordinary professional, when you wake up in the morning, between that time and you go to bed at night, you are probably committing 3 different felonies. When I started the practice of law, chapter 609 had about 36 pages. It's now approaching and maybe even exceeding 250. We should not have laws that are counterintuitive, and in fact, if someone, a friend of yours, wants to vote and thinks it's their civic duty and shows up, we are causing them to be a scufflaw. Finally, I mean, trust me, I have put in my remarks the justification for punishment. I'm not talking about reducing punishment. I'm talking about restoring people to society. I'm going to finish up on this point. After 20 years on the bench, I have come to the conclusion that we are a quite unforgiving society. We're very harsh in what we do, sometimes vindictive. See, judges can do mercy and compassion, but forgiveness comes from society. From my mind, this is low-hanging fruit. When do we start forgiving? We start forgiving at the point that somebody leaves prison. We educate them about the right to vote, and we allow them to vote. And so I'll stand on that. I will submit my written remarks to the chair and members, because I found out late yesterday afternoon they wanted me to testify. I started last night about 7, and I finished up at about 2,000 words, so I'll honor you.
Representative Newberger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I will be brief in my remarks. We have seen this bill come before, and we've discussed this a number of times, Representative Dean, and I appreciate what you're trying to do. And I do believe that we should take a second look at this, that people that have committed felonies should have the potential to having this restored. However, at this time, as I read the bill, I cannot support this bill because someone has to speak for the victims. Murder is a felony. And when you are killed, you don't get to vote ever again. Murder victims can never vote again. I do not support restoring the right to vote to someone who has taken another person's life. Because when you take someone else's life, you're also taking away their ability to vote forever. If you amend this bill that addresses that portion for felony murder, then you've got my attention. But until then, someone has to speak for all of the people that are in graveyards who do not ever get to vote again. Should we be forgiving and should we take a second look at this? Yes. But until that provision is in this language, I cannot support the bill. Thank you.
Chair, can I have an opportunity to address that? I'll be brief.
Mr. Darris,
Yep.
go ahead.
Well, Representative Newberger, I can appreciate that position. Certainly, all lives matter and our harm matters. And part of what I do within the community is try to reduce as much harm as I can and just make our community safer to live within. But the fact that we just have to come into acceptance with is that even people who have committed murder, myself included, that's what I was convicted of, are out here in society right now. One person who was convicted is testifying in front of you right now. I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. And there is still a public interest in terms of healthy reintegration. I could be your neighbor next week. I can move in right next door to you if there is a vacancy within the house next door to you. I can be right there. And I think that there is a healthy public interest in making sure that there is a safe and healthy reintegration from people, regardless of what crime they committed, back into society. And I think one of the most fundamental ways of helping to reintegrate someone back into society is having them participate in this civic process, namely voting.
Representative Newberg?
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. And as a matter of fact, there are 2 homes right next to mine, and if you were my neighbor,
I don't know if I can afford it, but
you would be more than welcome, because I'd probably ask you to watch my yard when I'm gone. But point being is the argument that you're making, with all respect, Mr. Chair, and to the time, the fact still remains that the victims of murder, they don't get any restoration. They still cannot vote. And once we change this, if you amend this bill to address that issue, then I can, you've got me, I'm walking down that path with you towards supporting it. But someone has to speak for the victims. Once you're dead, you're always dead. And that's an immutable fact.
Representative Lucero?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you, my question would be to the bill author or any of the testifiers, could you help me understand, are there other rights in addition to voting that are also withheld from those who've committed felonies?
Yes, there are.
Representative Dean?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Lucero, there is, at the conviction of a felony currently in our state, as long as you are under supervision or probation, you cannot vote and you cannot have access to a firearm. So I'm focusing primarily on this, and I know there's been discussions around firearms, and I don't want to get into a firearm debate right now because we're running a little bit late, and we could go 5 hours for that as well. And I'll wait to make some comments relative to what Representative Newberger said in my closing comments. But did you want to say anything, Justice?
I'd like to address something that Representative Newberger put his point. When I was last here on the juvenile bill, Representative Lorimer asked what I thought was a wonderful question. She asked the question about what role does hope play in rehabilitation. You said the same thing just a bit ago, okay? Giving hope to some people that they once can be restored to being able to vote. That's going to be very important. I think it'll make people less likely to recidivize. I'm not going to tell you what you should do with felonies, whatever. I know Chancellor Bismarck in Germany said once, if you like sausage, you like legislation. Don't watch either being made. Figure out how to get this done. And sometimes you can't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, but do something about the vast majority of these people that are being disenfranchised in what I consider an unjust way and a counterintuitive and counterproductive way for our society.
Representative Lucero?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And you can just nod for trying to be expeditious here. Is my understanding correct that at the end of probation, voting rights are restored?
Representative Dean?
Mr. Chair and Representative Lucero, yes, and I also made it clear that some sentences are 40 years long.
Can I address that? This is something that I hate.
Mr. Chair, I have a follow-up question.
I have seen so many draconian probations imposed in this state. I mean, I think sometimes somebody's better off to go to jail rather than take the probation. I mean, that's one of the hidden dirty secrets about the criminal justice system. So, listeners, good point, but we have some really draconian probation. I'm sorry, but that you pricked a point with me that I've seen too often in our society. I'll shut up and be quiet.
Representative Considine?
Mr. Chair, I have a follow-up.
Lucero?
I'm trying to go as fast as I can, Mr. Chair. Thank you. And that was going to be the point that I wanted to make, is I echo the sentiment of Representative Newberger. I'm receptive to this conversation. But the fact is, the debt to society equals jail time plus probation. And at the end of the debt to society, which equals jail time plus probation, voting rights are restored. So just those who may not be fully familiar with this legislation and this conversation, which I think is a healthy one, that if voting rights are restored, but what this legislation does is seek to restore voting rights prior to the end of the debt to society, restoring voting rights after jail time is completed, where I completely agree with the justice just said. I think one of the areas we absolutely need to address and tackle is this excessive 30-year, 40-year probation. Absolutely. And I think if we were to address that and bring those in, reduce those to a more reasonable time period, then I think this conversation essentially will solve itself for the most part. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Dean?
I'll be very brief, Mr. Chair and Representative Lucero. When we put this into statute in our state, the restriction or the loss of civil rights of voting and carrying guns, there were very few crimes in which people would actually go to prison. I actually believe when this was put in place, there really wasn't even a thing called probation in place. So as our criminal justice system has evolved over time, the original intent of this bill, or the original intent of this law, I think has somewhat changed a lot. So that's why I'm bringing the bill forward today.
Representative Dean? I do have to correct you. It wasn't statute or law that made this rule. It's Article 7 of the Minnesota Constitution, Section 1, in the elective franchise. The following persons shall not be entitled or permitted to vote in any election in this state. A person not meeting the above requirements, I'm farther down in the paragraph. Above requirements, a person who has been convicted of treason or a felony, unless restored to civil rights, and not right, rights with an S, so all their civil rights do have to be restored before they can vote again. And that's in the U.S., in the state constitution. That's why I have a problem with this bill, because it's a constitutional issue. It's not a legislative issue. And that's what we're going to need to work on. So I hope you understand where I sit on this issue. Representative Dean?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I certainly understand. And although the Constitution spells out what it does, we have since layered laws and laws on top of laws that actually begin to define what that is, and I think it's through that definition that we have an area for conversation.
Representative Zerwas?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members. Thank you, Representative Dean, for carrying this bill. I'm proud to be a co-author on this bill, and I support you and your efforts on this bill. It was 2005, 2006, the fall of 2006, when I was running for my first elected office. I was Elk River City Council member, and I was door knocking in Elk River, and person answers the door, and it's a young man I went to high school with. And he had his daughter there, and we spent about 15 minutes talking about how he's been doing, living in the community. Also on the ballot that fall was a voter referendum for the school. And he was talking about his daughter was going to be in school that year, and he was really concerned about class size, about the funding for the school. And at the end of our conversation, I said, well, hey, great talk. Remember to go out and vote. I need everyone's help. And he kind of dropped his head, and he said, Nick, he said, after high school, I got in trouble with methamphetamine. And he said, I went to treatment now, and I'm better, and I'm home, and I'm here with my wife and my daughter, but I'm a convicted felon. I can't vote. He goes, and don't get me wrong, I'm excited. I'd be excited to vote for you. He said, but I live here, I pay taxes, my daughter is going to school. The school is asking me to help make sure that she has a manageable class size, and I can't vote on behalf of my daughter to have a funded school. And so that struck me. I'll be honest, I tend to be kind of a crime and punishment guy, and that struck me, I think personally. And so I've been supportive of this bill since you and I got in the legislature together, and I wish you the best of luck, and I hope this bill moves forward.
Representative Considine?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This bill is as much for the community as it is for the people voting. We cannot expect them to follow the rules if they don't have a say in them. And that is a basic fundamental that has been around forever. Why would you expect people to say, I'm going to follow the rules, but I don't have a say? I mean, so this is as much for the community as it is for the felons, and we really need to get behind it. Thank you.
Representative Hillstrom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Representative Dean, I'm a strong supporter of this proposal. I've been a prosecutor and I've taken away people's rights to vote. I actually convicted a defendant on Election Day, and he turned to the judge and said, can I please go and vote before you sentence me? And so these folks are in our communities, and members, not every state even takes away the right to vote when they send people to prison. There are at least 3 states in the country that allow people to vote right in the prison. So this is a choice that a state has on what level of punishment they want to give and what rights they want to take away. Now, while Minnesota is the second or third lowest in incarceration, we are the 4th highest in the country in length of probation. So we punish our people longer. I believe that we want people to participate. We want them to vote. We want them to care about our community. We want them to care about our schools. And one of the ways we do that is to restore their right to vote. And so, Representative Dean, thank you for the work.
Representative Pinto.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm a strong supporter as well for all the reasons stated, and I want to make sure just to note, I may have missed this in Representative Dean's opening statement, but I'm a prosecutor as well, and just to confirm, the County Attorneys Association strongly supports this. They endorse the bill with that amendment, the repealer removed, and they know, prosecutors know, that this is a pro-public safety, pro-community safety bill. I'm so grateful to you, Representative Dean, and to your testifiers bringing it forward. And I'd say, Representative Newberger, if you have the testifier here, be comfortable watching your lawn. This is part of the idea of having folks be involved in our community in all these different ways, and I feel like this is such a strongly pro-public safety and pro-community bill, so many thanks to you.
Okay, members. I am going to, just very briefly, I'm going to be making a motion to lay this bill on the table, because I do have some concerns with it. I understand the need for it, what you're trying to do. I have some current constitutional issues I'm struggling with to see if it actually is constitutional to do by our state constitution. But I am going to allow Representative Dean to have some final statements on this before I do that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members, and of course, thank you to my testifiers. This is an issue that has been within the legislature for several years now. Minnesota would not be the first state doing something like this. Currently, there are 15 states that allow this, in states such as North Dakota, states such as Indiana. This isn't a progressive or liberal issue or a Republican or conservative issue. This is an issue about what's right. The reason that it includes all individuals with felony convictions is because of the way our elections are. Any chance we can create a bright line between who can vote and who can't vote, that actually it actually adds to the integrity of our voting system. And as the recent OLA report came out, Minnesota does it pretty well. We do a really good job, and we need to continue to do things well. The number of individuals that have been found to vote improperly is actually very, 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 very small, to the point that you could even say that its impact on elections is almost negligible. So I want to thank the chair, and I want to thank you members, and thank those individuals who showed up today for this hearing on the bill. And just because I have to ask, Mr. Chair, I would just ask you not to table and maybe just let us go to a voice vote and see what happens. Thank you.
And with that, I'm going to make a motion to lay the bill on the table. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No. Division.
Division has been called. All those in favor to lay the bill on the table, raise your hand. All those opposed? At 8 to 7, the motion is to lay the bill on the table as is approved.